Hey guys, and welcome to another recent viewing video. And this time around, I'm doing something a little different. Um, the Oscars were last night, and it's pretty much the only awards show that's left out there that I give a shit about because of how much I love movies. And anytime a year goes around that there's movies that I watch and have interest in that end up getting nominated for Oscars, it always just makes me that much more, I guess, invested and entertained by the show. And it's like I said, it's the last awards show that I care about. I don't watch the Grammys. I don't have cable, so I don't watch any of the like MTV Movie Awards or any of that kind of stuff. This is, like I said, this is pretty much just the only one that's left that I care anything about. And I know it's an awards show and winners and losers and all that bullshit, and there's all kinds of controversy that surrounds them, not just this particular year with the diversity issue, but everything about the equality in men and women. Like, there's only been one female director that's won Best Director in like the whole entire history of the Academy Awards. And of course, like I said, the diversity thing had to do with the representation of black people in the nominations and stuff that they got. Personally, I thought Chris Rock handled the whole issue really, really well. And the best point, the only point I want to highlight is when he said it doesn't really even matter about getting nominated or not. It's about getting opportunities in Hollywood to do roles, good roles where black actors and actresses can prove themselves to be worthy of Oscar consideration. Although I'm sure that for the most part they just want to do the best work that they can do, like anybody I would hope in Hollywood want to do. So, we had those kind of issues. It's a dog and pony show. It's winners and losers and all that kind of crap. I don't really care all that much about it. It's like who wins and who loses. If I saw a movie that I really enjoyed and it was nominated for Best Picture, or somebody from that movie was nominated for an acting award and they didn't win, I'd be a little bummed perhaps. But I can't imagine that there were too many times over the last 20-25 years that I've really paid attention to the Oscars where I was like twisted out of shape over who won or who lost. But what I did want to do was just kind of run through the winners and the nominees and all that, at least the stuff that meant anything to me. Talk about it a little bit, and I don't know, just make a video out of it. So I'm looking at the long list of awards and nominations and categories and all that. Now, the first thing I want to mention is, okay, here's something I've picked up over the years, and it's unfortunate, but I guess it's just kind of the name of the game. Certain actors, directors, films in general, sometimes a franchise or whatever, might get overlooked due to something else going on, so that somewhere later on down the road, the Oscars, the Academy, they decide to give a person or a franchise, a film or whatever, some recognition because of them not getting the kind of recognition that maybe they should have had before. And what I mean by that is, like, Mad Max Fury Road took home 6 Oscars, and they were pretty much all, it's like film editing, best makeup and hairstyling, costume design, production design, sound editing and mixing. But the movie was also up for Best Picture, and George Miller was also up for Best Director. And I feel like the Academy said, as good as the movie was, the way we were going to reward it this year was with these technical awards, because we don't feel like, as a picture or even as George Miller's effort in the picture, that it rivaled or surpassed something else. So Mad Max got its representation in a bunch of those other kind of awards. And then, for example, all of the big movies of the year that were kind of represented, movies like The Revenant, Bridge of Spies, Room, The Danish Girl, The Big Short, Spotlight, all of these kind of different movies, they all won something that kind of says, okay, they get representation in this. That's something that I think the Academy has done for quite a long time. If somebody says that a certain person did a really good job in a certain role in a movie this year, but somebody else wins, such and such actor will probably get rewarded for it at a later time, even if the role that they win it for was maybe not as strong as the previous one. It's weird. It's just my interpretation and other people's interpretation, because I've seen this online, I've read it, I've heard other people that I know say that they felt the same way. So, anyway, that out of the way, like I said, Mad Max won a bunch of this stuff. Very cool, but Ex Machina won for Best Visual Effects, despite the fact they went up against Mad Max, The Martian, The Revenant, and Star Wars The Force Awakens, which I think might have been one of the only... Well, no, okay. Star Wars was up for Best Film Editing, Best Sound Mixing and Sound Editing, Best Original Score, which I can believe. I think around the time that this... Excuse me, I've been fighting that yawn off for a while. I dozed off at one point and I kind of missed out on a couple of things, and I think original score was something I kind of blinked out of existence for a moment with. So Star Wars, basically sound, song, or score, and some of the special effects was where it was represented. Anyway, let's see, the best original song, I was a little surprised by that one. They had 3 performances on the show, which was Sam Smith singing Writings on the Wall, which came from the newest Bond movie, Spectre. They had The Weeknd performing Earned It from 50 Shades of Grey. How hilarious is it that a song that dominated, or excuse me, a movie that dominated at the Razzies had a song nominated for the Oscars? And then they had Lady Gaga doing Till It Happens to You from The Hunting Ground. The other 2 songs were from movies, 3 songs. No, 2 songs. One from Racing Extinction and one from Youth. I don't know what Youth was, and Racing Extinction is, I think, kind of a documentary. But the 3 that were performed, I ended up thinking that the Lady Gaga song was the best performance. I didn't think Sam Smith really nailed it in his performance. Not that the Oscar goes to the performance on that night, it's just the song in general, but I was kind of pulling, and I don't really care much for Lady Gaga, but I was kind of pulling for her to win that one for the song that she did. So, yeah, The Revenant won for Best Cinematography. I'm so looking forward to that movie. And The Hateful Eight was up in that one. I'm so looking forward to that. So let's bump up here to the short films and documentaries, which don't really mean anything to me because I didn't know any of that stuff, but Stutterer won for Best Live Action Short Film, Bear Story, Best Animated Short Film, documentary feature was Amy. Now that's a movie, a documentary about Amy Winehouse, and now I'm kind of intrigued. I kind of want to watch that. I did think she was a pretty good singer, and I like that everybody's been saying that this movie kind of shows that she wasn't necessarily a horrible person who threw her life away to drugs, more that she was surrounded by a lot of enablers and a lot of people who didn't steer her in the right direction. So yeah, I'd be curious to watch that one. The short subject documentary was A Girl in the River, The Price of Forgiveness. I don't really know anything about that. Best Animated Feature Film, I was kind of disappointed to see that go to Inside Out. That movie has no appeal to me at all, and it's just another Disney/Pixar/ one of the big animated studios, general, movies that they put out. And some of the other ones looked interesting, especially to me when Marnie was there. That's a movie I'm kind of thinking about picking up at some point. Best Foreign Language Film, Son of Saul, a movie from Hungary. Don't know anything about the foreign language films. They don't really do much for me since they're not in English. Okay, so the screenplays. Best original screenplay went to Spotlight, and adapted screenplay went to The Big Short. Spotlight, I don't know, might be a movie I would rent someday. The Big Short, a little more likely to check that one out just because it looked interesting cast, and it's another movie that American Hustle, I think, is the first really good example of it, which is a movie that I own but haven't watched. But everybody in that movie, especially the men, all had the weirdest hairstyles done to them. Like they specifically went overboard in trying to give everybody in American Hustle a stereotypical like 70s or 80s hairstyle. Everybody in The Big Short has hair that's just over the top, in my opinion. Like, I don't know that they were really trying to go that much for authentic time period hairstyle. They just, in my opinion, it was a little overdone. Just a random observation there. All right, so the best supporting actress and actor categories. Alicia Vikander won for The Danish Girl, which was awesome to me because I love her. The Man from U.N.C.L.E. and Ex Machina were two movies I watched this year that she was in, and I just thought they were awesome. Seventh Son also. So I'm really interested in stuff that she's done. I might want to watch the Danish Girl movie at some point. The other people who were nominated were like Jennifer Jason Leigh from The Hateful Eight, and that's a movie I want to check out. Rooney Mara from Carol, Rachel McAdams from Spotlight, and Kate Winslet from Steve Jobs. I will be seeing Steve Jobs as I picked up that movie recently. I just haven't showed it yet in a pickups video. On the Best Supporting Actor side, this was one that I did fall asleep for, and I just barely caught at the end who won it. Mark Rylance won for Bridge of Spies. Now, I haven't seen Bridge of Spies. I don't know if it really looks like something I would want to check out. And I don't know who the guy is. I don't recognize him from anything. The other people who were nominated in this were Christian Bale for The Big Short, Tom Hardy for The Revenant, which is something I want to watch really bad, Mark Ruffalo from Spotlight, and Sylvester Stallone from Creed, which I kind of wondered if he might have, like he was maybe the long shot, but like he might have had a surprise win, because it's been like 40 years since he was at the Oscars for something that he was involved with, which was the original Rocky, which won Best Picture, if I remember right. I don't remember if he won other stuff for that, too. But I was kind of hoping and pulling for him, but it ended up going to Mark Rylance. And I feel like that was the Academy's nod to Bridge of Spies. Okay, here's yours. You get Best Supporting Actor. Bridge of Spies was up for Best Picture. And no, I guess Spielberg wasn't up for Best Director. But Bridge of Spies was up for Best Original Screenplay. And in my opinion, that's just sort of their way of giving Bridge of Spies their thing. Now, Best Actor and Actress. Leonardo DiCaprio, of course, finally won a Golden Statue for his role in The Revenant. Now, I'm not a Leonardo DiCaprio fan. I'm not a big fan of stuff that he does. Some of the movies that I've watched that he's in, like Titanic and Inception, were not really my favorites. But this movie looked so amazing that I don't really care who would have performed that role. I want to see the movie one way or another. But Leo's got acting chops, and he won finally, and maybe that meme can die. Other people who were in this category were Bryan Cranston for Trumbo. I don't know much about that movie. Matt Damon for The Martian. There's a movie that I own and I can't wait to check out. Michael Fassbender in Steve Jobs. And Eddie Redmayne in The Danish Girl. So every movie in the Best Actor category, with the exception of Trumbo, are ones that I really want to watch or probably will watch. Then in Best Actress, this is going to be an interesting one. Brie Larson won for her role in Room, which was a movie I really didn't even know anything about until a few weeks ago. It comes out tomorrow as of the time I'm recording this, and I have pre-ordered it on Amazon. I want to see this movie. It just sounds so interesting. I think I'll talk a little bit more about that when I have the movie to show off or after I watch it. But I'm really looking forward to that. And I think it's really awesome because Brie Larson has been in other movies that I've watched. Most recently, Trainwreck as Amy Schumer's sister. And it's pretty amazing to me the kind of range that she has to do Amy Schumer's stupid little comedy movie and then come back and do this movie where she wins Best Actress. The other nominees were Cate Blanchett for Carol, Jennifer Lawrence in Joy, Charlotte Rampling in 45 Years, and Saoirse Ronan in Brooklyn. Now, Carol, I don't know if that's a movie that I like. It doesn't really do much for me. Joy, I kind of wanted to watch, but I think it's just because I like Jennifer Lawrence pictures. I'd never heard of 45 Years, and Brooklyn I hadn't really heard of, but I like Saoirse Ronan, so I might check that one out at some point. And in the last two categories, Best Director, and Best Picture. The directors were Alejandro G. Inarritu. I'm probably decimating his name, but he directed The Revenant. He won for directing that. He also won last year for directing Birdman, which I thought was a really awesome movie. So it's pretty sweet that he did that. I think it's the third time ever that a director has won back-to-back years for directing. Then the other ones were Adam McKay for The Big Short, George Miller for Mad Max Fury Road, Lenny Abrahamson for Room, and Tom McCarthy for Spotlight. So as I mentioned before, The Big Short is something I might watch. Room is something I'm going to be watching. Mad Max Fury Road I've already watched, and Spotlight I'm kind of on the fence about that one. And in your Best Picture nominees this year, there were 8. I think right now they're oscillating roughly between about 7 and 10. It used to be like 5, and then they upped it to 10, and now they've just decided that it'll kind of go between those amounts. Anyway, the Best Picture nominees were Room, The Revenant, The Martian, Mad Max Fury Road, Brooklyn, Bridge of Spies, The Big Short, and Spotlight. Spotlight won for Best Picture. Like I said, in some of the other categories, I feel like this was Spotlight's time in the spotlight. It had just won Best Original Screenplay, and that was really its only other, the only other thing that it topped out on. So I kind of feel like maybe that was just their way of, okay, we'll give you this, and you know, that's just kind of how it goes. Like I said, I could be wrong. Brooklyn was in this one, and Brooklyn, as far as I can tell, Brooklyn didn't win for anything else. So it was just a nominee. But yeah, that's pretty, in my opinion, a pretty good list of Best Picture nominees. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 that I probably will watch, and the other 2 are distinct possibilities. Some years I go in and they'll have their 8 to 10 Best Picture nominees, and I will have only seen like 1, maybe 2, and none of the rest even look like something that would be interesting. But overall, I thought it was a pretty good show. They tried to do this new thing with the acceptance speeches, and that they were only going to give them a certain amount of time before the music would start playing and play you out. But beforehand, I guess they let them go up and say, if you win, who would you give thanks to? And then they had a ticker down at the bottom of the screen there, ticking along with who their thanks would go out to. I don't know what it is that they're thinking, that they think that they'll ever really be able to rein people in, though. Even though it did end pretty close to when I think it was supposed to. Here's my thing. A friend of mine posted on my Facebook page today, after I mentioned yesterday that I was going to watch the Oscars, and he was like, what's up with the song category? You know, okay, soundtracks are a big deal, but does a song from a movie deserve to have an Oscar when there's already an award for music, which is the Grammys? Why don't the Grammys just have a best song from a soundtrack or score as a category in their area? and cut out the musical performances in the Oscars and let people have a little bit more time to thank the people that they want to thank. Some of those people may never get up on that stage again. I don't have a problem whatsoever with a long acceptance speech. And with people who want to go off about their political things, or not necessarily always political things, but when they have a cause that they want to speak to, why not just give them the opportunity to do that? I say kick the musical stuff over to the Grammys and let those songs from movies be highlighted there, and give more time to acceptance speeches. Or maybe that technical Oscar ceremony that they have, they could give a little bit more time to that. I don't know. No one's going to listen to my ideas for it. At least nobody who can implement them in any way. But yeah, I enjoyed it. Like I said, I only dozed off a couple of times, and that's not because of boredom or whatever. That's just because by the time it gets to be 8, 9, 10 o'clock here in my house, unless I am physically moving, like I'm not getting all comfortable on the couch and I'm intent on something like a movie or a video game, I pass out. And so the fact that I only briefly dipped out like twice, I was pretty happy about. Even though it's saying it was the lowest rated Academy Awards in 8 years, I thought it was a really good show. Chris Rock did a really good job. I liked Ellen DeGeneres in the previous few years, but he did really, really well. It was an entertaining show, lots of laughs, lots of comedy, lots of good chemistry between presenters. It was just really, really awesome. I enjoyed it, had a good time. Anybody else out there watched it? Did you enjoy it? Did you have any problems with who were nominated, who didn't get nominated, who won or didn't win? Anything about the diversity issue? Anything at all about it? Otherwise, I had a good time with it, and I hope to be watching it again next year and maybe do another one of these videos for it. So thanks, you guys, for watching, and I'll see you next time.